Hey, it is that time. It's time for the Pool Fanatic Tony Caruso, and it's also time for a very special pre-Christmas show. If you want to call in and ask about things you could still maybe put under the Christmas tree in the way of a certificate, a drawing, or whatever, there's still time to do that. If you're going to add heat to your pool this winter and you want to surprise the family, well, there's a way to do that. Maybe you're going to give a pool to the family. Tony Caruso can conjure that up in the next couple of days. This is the Pool Fanatic Show. You got questions about the pool, maybe a pool gift idea, 844-220-0965. That's 844-220-0965, or you can text us at 21232. That is 21232 in his Hawaiian flowery shirt.
Hey, Rob, how you doing,
Caruso.
Man? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Hey,
great.
Listen, the reason I played my Christmas vacation song, I'm playing it for two reasons.
Right.
The very first reason is the most important reason of all is because children are currently on Christmas vacation.
Yes, they are.
So now that children are on Christmas vacation, we really, 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 really need to, one, stay very close to our family, and number two, let's not take our eyes off our children. We're out there shopping in the malls, and we don't want to know where our kids went. Teach them. We need to stay here.
Stay close.
Now, with the exception of this past couple of days, your pool's still been open for swimming pools to go swimming. So we can't give up that complacency either. We talk about who's watching the children. We talk about who's watching children everywhere. That just not is in the backyard. That's just not at the malls. That's in your home, around the house, and around the street. So let's introduce this awesome guy right here, and we're going to ask him some of these cool questions. So go ahead, Rob.
I do a lot of research on a lot of people because I'm on seven radio networks. But I tell you what.
Only 7.
If I go to a search engine and I put in lighting director COS, his entire name shows up. This man that you've heard off and on our show over the last year, Cosmos, has toured with, get this, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Black Sabbath, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Foreigner, INXS, Iron Maiden, Meatloaf, Motley Crue, the Rolling Stones, David Lee Roth, the Scorpions, Rod Stewart, just to name a few.
That was only a few?
That's just one paragraph.
Are you? There's more? On and on and on. So I want to welcome to the show today, because he's not traveling for a while, Mr. Cosmo Wilson. How you doing, sir?
Hi, guys. Finally, I get to be here instead of on the other end of the phone.
Your phone, I cannot believe how long the cord was. You were 12,000, 14,000 miles away?
Yeah, ish.
Ish? Ish?
That was amazing.
That's a long phone cord. And I tell you what, Cosmo, the delay in time on the cell phone, because you're a cell phone, we're live, instantaneous?
It was instantaneous, but the other thing that amazed me was this is the first time that this show has ever communicated with Cosmo that we weren't 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours apart. It's actually 5:10 Eastern Standard Time, and it's where you are across the studio, it's 5:10 Eastern Standard Time.
So what was always amazing about this conversation, Cosmo already knew the end of the conversation before we did because he was already into tomorrow.
I was in the future.
All right. Yeah. So since you are the world traveler and amazed at what you do, these are some serious questions. On your travels, I know you do at times have a little bit of extra time to see what's going on around bodies of water, shopping malls, out and about venues. What did you see? Did you see people paying attention to their kids? Did you when you visit some of these areas where you're out by the pool, if possible, you're in the ocean, did you see parents paying attention to the kids? Or did you really didn't see that being something that they needed to do?
Well, I mean, it's the same. I find it's the same pretty much everywhere I travel. The parents need to look after their children at the beaches, at the pools, at the malls, and I think it's the same kind of thing that we do here in the States. I mean, they definitely make a big deal of it. So,
out of 180 countries, how many have you been to?
I've been to 83.
83 countries, but in 83 countries, everybody lives differently. Did you? So when your comment about people paying attention, did you see that pretty much common every place you went? See, we talk about we don't get to go in people's houses, but we see when we're out and about. We see what happens every day out and about. And one of the stories I always talk about is I'm at the attractions and I see this boy is bawling his eyes out. He has no clue where mom and dad is. That's traumatic to me. So did you see any of that around where you were traveling?
Well, I mean, yeah, once in a while you'll see it. I mean, I don't really know, like in public places, I don't notice it as much, but I do some of the concerts I do. I mean, not necessarily like the AC/DC show, but more of a festival where people bring their children. They lose their children, and you hear it announced over the PA system, you know, such as looking for their child or your child. They have a place for them to go. So I mean, it does happen everywhere.
Interesting. So we're not alone in this quest to make sure that children are well cared for, well loved, well protected in all aspects of their lives, giving them the opportunity to grow up to live a long, healthy, happy life. So during this Christmas vacation, I do not want to read any news.
That's right.
I actually want to ever read it ever again. So now that we've got this guy in here, man, we're going to talk about some stuff, because when we walked in through a break when Larry was here, did Larry not scratch his head about a comment we talked about last week?
Yes.
You want to talk about that for a second?
Sure.
So go ahead and talk about the RGB and tell us about the effects and how that becomes what it is.
Well, everybody seems to think that a color of light is they don't realize that white is the complete mixture of all colors. I think what it is when you're in school, you paint and you mix, you know, yellow and red, and it makes orange. But that's a different thing. You once again, it's the light reflecting off that orange. So like a lighting gel that you put in front of a light for a rock and roll concert or whatever, it absorbs that color. That's why you're seeing it. It's taking that color out of the white and you're seeing it. So it's almost, you have to think the opposite. But yes, white light is a combination of every single color in the spectrum. And when you break it down, like you said, red, green, RGB, red, green, blue, that together will make white.
Okay, so what I mentioned to Larry during this conversation was that I have LEDs just like you do.
Yeah.
You have the same exact light I do. So if we're standing above the light looking down at the fixture, we're not looking at the cast out in the water, I can actually see the red bar, the green bar, and the blue bar. But the minute I get out in front of that light, all of the three colors disappear to become exactly
white.
Okay. So that being said, we can take all the colors that we know of, and there's thousands and millions of colors. If you start picking all the individual colors in between all the individual colors and make all the other colors, we have millions of colors. Is that kind of a fair statement?
Correct. I agree.
Okay, so now we threw all those in the pot, and the end color is going to be?
White.
Okay, so now that we know that, that's how we are able to take these LEDs and make color shows in swimming pools. Now, I don't know what your favorite color is, but I have a couple of them in my system. I really love afternoon skies. I think it's a very pretty color. It's not a real pretty blue. It's a pretty blue at night for me. But I also like deep blue skies where the water gets a lot deeper in color and bluer. Now, you had a nice picture I saw that you posted. You had your Christmas colors on. And what colors? How did you do that?
Well, I had my pool was green.
Okay.
And my lanai, which has LED lights in it, was red. So obviously made Christmas, the two Christmas colors together. But what I like doing in my lanai a lot is putting a lavender color in my pool, a deep blue, and it's very relaxing and calming.
Okay, so how hard was it for you to put your pool light on green?
I just opened up my app and selected the color.
And that took you about how long?
10 seconds.
Okay, so that's how easy your technology is with OmniLogic. Now, you're the consumer. I sold you an OmniLogic system that allows you did you have any issues communicating with your pool when you're traveling around the world, as long as you had a cell signal?
Well, I mean, obviously my pool, the OmniLogic system is connected to my internet. So I go on my app on my phone, or I go on my laptop when I'm on the road, and I can check the status of my pool. I can check the temperature, the chlorine, the pH level. It's that part of it I love. But for instance, it's been a little chilly lately, and I like my water temperature around 78 at the coldest. Anything below that is kind of chilly. So when I came home, it was 76. So what I did is I went on in Atlanta and turned on the heater to heat the pool, because it takes about an hour to heat it a degree. So by the time I got home, the pool was 78 degrees and perfect for me to get in.
So the difference was, if you were in your spa, you wouldn't even have to do that from Atlanta.
Well, see, that's exactly, because my pool is obviously a much larger body of water, but I find my spa takes about 10 to 15 minutes to heat up to. The other night, when I took that picture of the Christmas colors, I'd heated it up to 98, and it was got so hot so fast I couldn't get in it. I had to turn it off for a minute.
Dump it a little bit. So if you live 40 miles from the airport, how close to home would it be before you activated your spa?
I've turned it on when I'm getting off the expressway, which is about 15 minutes from my house.
There you go. So when you got home, basically dropped the bags, you're all good to go, right in the spa. It's everything you want it to do, and turning it off. So simple.
Exactly. I mean, I've found by learning the app, there's more things that I could do that I didn't know I could do, and talking to you guys and your sons, there's little tips and things that make it even easier than I thought.
Right.
It's like in order to keep the pool system running, but you just want to turn off the feature, there's one button you hit, and it resets the features, but the pool doesn't reset it. It's perfect.
So the beauty of having an OmniLogic, you can control how much chlorine your pool's making, what your ORP is. You can also adjust the pH in your pool, and you can also adjust your lighting, your temperatures, your freeze protect. You've got all these different modes you can do remotely. So I question, what kind of peace of mind did you have being away that your pool was where it needed to be?
Well, for me, it's good, but my wife is there, so she's keeping an eye on it. I have my pool guy come once a week, and I know that, but my wife, Deanna, came down to Australia for 3 weeks to visit. So normally I'd be really very worried, but I tell you, I didn't think about it. There were days that went by and I didn't even think about the pool, and I'd go on and check just to make sure, but I didn't even think about it. I mean, peace of mind is an understatement.
Now, I do projects for customers that leave for 2 or 3 months or 6 months. Snowbirds coming down,
right,
going back. Would you recommend an automation, or not an automation, but a pH and chlorine system for them?
Of course.
And why would you do that?
Well, it's maintenance free. I mean, there's the maintenance free part of it that makes it really great for me. That's why I like the OmniLogic system.
And you could actually, if you're on, we'll just take OmniLogic away, and we're going to put AquaRite Pro and a pH injector on there. You got the same thing, except you just not automate it from around the world.
Well, exactly.
Right. So now, as the consumer wanting to travel for 2 or 3 weeks, all you got to do is have this do it. You can still have a pool service guy, but you want to know peace of mind that system is doing what it's doing. And we got more to talk about this. So we're going to go to break. 407-282-4911. Visit us at Orlando Luxury Pools. Like us on Facebook. That's TC Water Features, where amazing things can happen in your backyard.
We're going to take a break for those 3 big things you need to know. Don't forget I-4 and 27 on the west side. Major traffic tie-ups and tie-ups throughout town. 40 minutes for you to get out of the parking lot at the Florida Mall. Be patient. Let somebody end the traffic. We'll all get to dinner sometime tonight. You're listening to the Pool Fanatic. And if you have a question for Tony, maybe you have a question for Cosmo, 844-220-0965. That's 220-0965. We'll be back.
Always on the run. That's how it's done on Christmas vacation.
All right, very good. Christmas vacation. We're glad that our long-lost friend Cosmo could make it back home to the Apopka area and make it home for Christmas after being on the road. I was reading that one of your tours was like 8 months long, 5 million people, 100 and some cities. You're no stranger to frequent flyer miles.
No, I think I could have gone to the moon and back 5 times is what I calculated. It's moon's about 250,000 miles.
242, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've flown 2.5 million miles in my life. I've kept track of nearly every flight I've been on.
That's so cool.
I just, for some reason, I like to keep track of the flight, and I keep track of the miles. I mean, on Delta Sky Miles, the program, I fly Delta most of the time. I have about 1.4 million miles in my Sky Miles account.
Wow. And the great premise of this whole thing is not only is he a great guy to talk to and a celebrity in his own right, but one of the cool things about it is Tony built his pool, and Cosmo can go anywhere around the world and still communicate with his pool. I mean, he can truly communicate with his pool, change the temperature, change all the levels in the pool, remote control. I mean, how cool is that? Okay, we're going to go to Osmond? Or do you want to
go for it?
Osmond, what is your question for Cosmos?
Yes, my question to Cosmos, I don't have a pool, I don't have a house, but I listen to the Magic Mechanic, and I listen to this show. I am a pastor, but the question that I want to ask the Mr. Cosmos, when you take all these different colors that are out there, and you say that you can make the color white out of all these different colors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all the colors together make white. Basically, a color is a subtraction of other colors to make that particular color. As I said, I like using as an example like a red switch. The red switch is basically filtering all the colors except for red. The reason you see red is because that's what it's filtering out. That's why you see it. It's a little hard to understand.
Sir Isaac Newton did all that with the prism.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
An ancestor of mine, by the way.
Ah.
See? And I know nothing.
So was that your question, Osmond? How do you get to that?
Well, the reason why I'm asking you because I'm looking at it from a biblical perspective. Because since as I teach the Bible, and the Bible speaks of a lot of colors, and you have the rainbow, okay? So all the colors in the rainbow can reflect just one simple color as white?
Well, see, that's what it is. Like Rob was saying about the prism. The prism breaks the white light down into all the different colors in the spectrum, such as the rainbow. The rainbow is basically a prism through rain droplets. So yes, the white is broken down by the prism into the colors, and that's why you see it that way.
Mm-hmm. I've got a question. When you're doing a tour, I know when you're doing a pool, you have different shades, different times for the mood that you're in. So you're sitting there with AC/DC, and they're saying, okay, we got a tour coming up, or Foreigner, whoever. And they say, okay, do you listen to the music or look at the lineup first and then decide the lighting? Or do you run through a run-through and have them playing on a stage and sit up there and say, this would be a good effect, this would be a good effect, change with the beat? I mean, how do you do it?
Well, I mean, if you just simple color selection for songs, when I hear music, especially stuff that I enjoy, I see colors. It's hard to explain. I mean, I think most people. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe most people don't. But when I hear a song, I see colors. And so when I get a new band, I mean, AC/DC I've done for a long time. Bands that I've done for a while, I know because I've done it for so long. Mm-hmm. If they do a new song, then I have to come up with another what I see or what I feel. But when I get a new band, I listen to the music and I start writing down, first of all, the colors I want to use for that particular songs. I mean, some of them are obvious. I mean, like Highway to Hell. What other colors am I going to use besides red and ambers and oranges and yellows? Fire. The song Cold as Ice by Foreigner. You want it, blues and greens and lavenders, cold colors. It's cold as ice. So some of it's simple and straightforward.
So that's kind of like if you see a song and you can put the lighting together, if I see your backyard, I can do your swimming pool. I already see it. I do. I see the pool in the backyard. So what's amazing about that is the amount of time you spend in the industry. You see what you need to know. We're going to go to break. 407-282-4911. Visit us at OrlandoLuxuryPools.com. Like us on Facebook. That's TC Water Features, where amazing things can happen in your backyard.
Hey, give a call if you've got a question about your pool right now over the Christmas holidays. Maybe you'd like to add a pool next year. Maybe you want to change out that pool because you got a house. Maybe it was a foreclosure, maybe an investment house, and it has a swimming pool in the backyard, and you're going, do I fill it with dirt, or do I bring it back, or do I change it? 844-220-0965. Real slow, 844-220-0965. Text us, 21232, 21232. Here come the three big things you need to know.
It's that time. Christmas time is here.
Christmas is the time of year for being with the ones we love.
I'll tell you what, you're sitting in your backyard with friends. You got the fireplace, the outdoor fireplace on. You're watching the lights in the pool. And for some of the pools that Tony does, not only do you have the outdoor fireplace, but you also have fire in a bowl in your pool. Now, that's kind of cool. But we did get a question from one of our listeners who also was one of the people who helped build the pool that Cosmo has in his yard, and that is our good friend Tom, and brother Tom, actually, to all of us. And Tom wants to know pyrotechnics and lighting. Where do you fall into that equation?
All right, so I'm going to try to break it down. When do you? First off, question is: do you intermingle your lighting with the pyrotechnicians?
Well, it depends on the tour, but when we design a show, when we put together a show, on some tours, I come up with ideas of pyro and we make it happen. If we want to go into detail on AC/DC, because that's the tour I'm doing right now, there's a separate. They have ideas. I have my lighting, and then we come together and put them together. So it's a combination of me talking to the pyro guys and them talking to me. And this, for instance, we were talking about before about the when you were talking about pyro just now. I don't necessarily design the pyro on AC/DC, but on other tours I have.
Okay, so the question would be is when you're doing the lighting for the show, obviously based on the music that's being played, and all songs are totally different, so the lighting's different on every song. I'm assuming every song is totally different.
Correct.
Okay, so now you've got to interface your lighting with the pyrotechnician. Are you trying to still achieve a certain effect depending on the song and the type of pyro?
Well, that's it, exactly, depending upon the song. So let's take Highway to Hell, which is one of the big songs AC/DC does. We have it's basically propane flame units. We have some that make big flame balls. We have some that make flame jets that go about 30 feet in the air. And for instance, during the encore of that song, during the chorus of that song, the audience is singing, and I have a bunch of audience blinders, we call them, because that's what they do. They blind you. But I want to light the audience so the band can see them. Well, the audience being blinded by the lights can't see the flames. So what we do is I light them when they're singing, and then I take the lights out, and the flame jets on the side go up. So that way they can see the flames. So it's a back and forth between me and the pyro.
So that's all, obviously, that's coordinated down to the millisecond, I'm pretty sure. Not quite that fine.
Well, not that. I mean, we run it all manually, but yes, it is. We do make sure that I have the lights off when they're doing the flames.
So in that, for instance, you're not competing with pyro.
Correct.
Give me a scenario where you are competing with pyro.
Well, at the end of the show, we have a big finale with tons of aerial fireworks going off, stuff on the stage, just a huge amount of stuff all over the place. So I have to bring up every single light I have doing is crazy. I mean, it's the end of the show anyway, but it is out of control looking. So I've really got to step my lights up to compete with the pyro because there's so much pyro.
So if you were playing so Highway to Hell is a hot song, meaning it's temperature. The song is temperature heat wise.
Yes.
Then how do you play a song that's cold? You know, you're playing a song that talks about maybe cold weather or cold as ice, for instance. How would you light something like that? How would you, because that song is going to be not a heated up song. It's going to have a lot of color to it. Are you competing with some kind of pyro in a show like that?
Well, I mean, pyro, once again, I think we would use it. I use it sparingly, so it has more of an impact when we do use it. And I wouldn't necessarily use it in a song like Cold as Ice or a slow ballad kind of thing. There's a thing we have, it's called a waterfall, and you've probably seen it. It's usually behind the band, and it's like sparkles coming down. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a subtle pyro thing that you can use.
How's that done?
It's just they're literally like powder that falls down and burns as it goes down. Same thing as a big aerial demonstration, but it's obviously in smaller, and it just spills out. It just shoots down, and it looks like a waterfall.
So when you're doing songs that have different tempos, different melodies, different beats, fast, slow, whatever, how fast does your lighting change?
Well, this is one thing. I'm a big conventional lighting guy. There's parkans, parabolic reflectors, which have been around, since the 60s. They have an attack and a decay because it's a 1,000-watt bulb, so it takes a split second to ramp up, and then it decays, for about a second. So it's a nice thing. It's a rock and roll kind of light. The newer lights are LED lights, which are great, but they're fast. They're on and off, change color instantaneously. Sometimes I don't want that, but sometimes I want it to change as fast as I can. Sometimes I want it to strobe almost. But the nice thing about the old conventional stuff is you have that attack and decay, which kind of goes with like it's a sustain of a guitar.
So you talk about a flash of light. You could, let's say your color is blue. How fast can you flicker that blue to stay blue, but demonstrate its flickering? And you do. I know you do that.
Well, oh yeah. I mean, I can with the modern day LED lights, I can strobe them like a strobe light, and it's just like any other, like a strobe light. I mean, as fast as you want. You know, if epileptic seizure fast.
That's pretty quick, man. So, in one of your colors in your Omni Logic, you basically have that strobe mode kind of. You have, I kind of call it like and I know you've noticed this. You have lights that change so slow you didn't realize it changed.
Well, that's what I love setting up with my pool system and my lanai is I like setting up so it changes color. It's completely imperceptible. You don't notice it's changing. You go, hang on a second, wasn't that just blue?
Yeah.
And I love that, you know.
And then that's a slow fade.
Yes.
And then you have, I call it your medium fast, where it's kind of firing a little bit, but it's not firing rapidly fast. It's just going through maybe every second and a half, 2 seconds, it's rotating. And then we get to the other end of the spectrum. It's like a show.
It's like a disco show, like a rock show.
Yeah, man, it's like fired off. So you have, and that's what I tell people. They go, well, you know, I'm not sure about LED. Well, if any type of LED light you do, you should do white, and here's why. If you have an incandescent light bulb in your pool, which there's about 300,000 of them right here in Central Florida, that have white incandescent light bulbs in their pool. Well, that's really kind of a yellow white. That's not a pure white. So if you have a pool that is blue during the day and you have an incandescent light, you have a greenish cast at night. It's not an option. It's just the way it is. Then I take that incandescent light bulb out, which is either 300, 400, or 500 watts, and then I put an LED bulb in there. I've lowered that wattage from 300 as a base minimum to 95. Okay? Now I have true colors. So if I had a straight white LED, that's pure white. That's as pure as it's going to get, as bright as you're going to get.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I hate to say, if you've ever been in an operating room and you're looking up, that's pretty doggone bright, man. There's not a lot you can't miss. So if anything, you put a straight white LED in your pool and you'll have true colors at night. If your pool is blue at night, or during the day, it'll be blue at night. Going back to the same thing, the incandescent bulb is misleading its color. Yeah, it's illuminated, but you want to see colors. You're going to see it better in an LED light. Now, the pure white is pure white. Now, we can't quite make pure white in the pool because we're firing red, green, blue. They do make a white LED, by the way, but that is specifically a single. Is it right to say a color? Is white a color?
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, it's all the colors, so
I got
it would
it,
be a color.
Can you define it as a color, though? Is it it's kind of like the master color?
Well, exactly.
Okay,
it's
so
not a lack of color.
It's the master color.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's what drives all the other colors we have.
Correct.
In a perspective. So one of the things we talked off during the break is a rainbow. Okay?
Right.
The only way you're going to see a rainbow if there's light behind you and you're between the light and the source.
And the water, yes.
And the water. Okay. So that's what's going to create a rainbow. So we talked about this. There's sometimes you see a rainbow and it's really light up high, and then as you come on down, it gets a little darker. Can I kind of explain that a little bit? Why is it because there's so much light up here and there's not as much down here?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the light, the rainbow is glowing. So when there's more light, like a light in the room, you're not going to see it as much. So when the sunlight is actually in the air so much, it's going to affect your ability to see the rainbow itself. But if it's in a cloud or there's clouds covering part of the sun, you're going to see the rainbow more because the sun is actually going to hit the water, and you're visually going to see a more richer looking rainbow.
So can we make our own rainbows at home?
With your water hose.
So tell everybody how they can make a rainbow at home with their water hose.
Well, you just have to make sure the sun is behind you, and you put your spray nozzle on mist, and you just spray it, and you'll see it.
You'll see.
I'm sure people see it all the time.
Tony, for the people out there, they've got an older pool, and they're right now salivating. They'd like to have all these cool lights, like when I was at your house last Saturday night, and the pool changed for a few shades constantly, which was kind of neat. They want that so bad. Can you take their regular light that they've got in their old swimming pool and add LED effects to it?
The answer is yes and no, and I want to clear out the no first part. Here's the no part. If you have a 5-gallon bucket behind your wall instead of a light and inch, you made my life really hard. We're renovating a pool right now that's 35 years old, and the light housing is the end of a 5-gallon bucket. And all I did was cement the trim ring on the wall so you can put the light in there. leak like a sieve for 30 years.
I guess.
Okay, now, if you have a pool that was built in the last 25 years, actually 30, I mean, let's trade 35 years, you actually have a light niche housing. And if you have a light niche housing, Hayward's Universal Color Logic is UL listed to fit everybody's light niche. So if you have a Pentair or a Jandy or a Stay Right or American Products, Hayward's UL listing allows us to put that light in that fixture. Now, lighting. Let me tell you something right now. We're going to talk about the power portion of what you do. When you work on your pool light, if you are not a licensed electrician or a certified contractor, don't touch that light. It has to be GFI protected. Now, granted, if it's straight line voltage at 120 volts, not GFI protected, you're acceptable through failure of that line to get zapped with 120 volts. You'll probably get a nice tingle. Staying there long enough, that amperage coming off there, about 0.5 millivolts, will stop your heart and you're done. We're going to come back after a break. 407-282-4911. Visit us at Orlando Luxury Pools. I'm too fast. I'm not that fast car salesman guy. Visit us at Orlando Luxury Pools. Like us on Facebook. That's TC Water Features. Our like count's going up tremendously because people are realizing what we bring to the table. And everything that we do out here brings us amazing things that happen in your backyard.
So you're not that guy that sits in the office and says, you want that swimming pool? You can take it home with you right there today if you just sign it. 844-220-0965. It's a Pool Fanatic Show. Our very special guest, and I tell you what, I am so honored. And we've got Cosmos Wilson in here, and he is the Lighting Director of the Year, right? Lighting Director of the Year. We'll be back coming up.
Walk through the snow, listening.
We have got the engineer, Chris, pushing all the right buttons at all the right time. He also does the music for Santa up at the North Pole. We have 5 minutes before the news, traffic and weather, followed by Cigar Dave. Yeah, we're going to have some alpha male maneuvers. That's right, coming from Tampa tonight, Cigar Dave. So we're back to swimming pools, lighting, and an unbelievable of all the people I've met in my life, and I've met a lot of them. This is one of the biggest honors I've got. Cosmos Wilson is with us. Look him up on any search engine, and you're going to see a list of the greatest groups of all time, and not just rock groups. You've done lighting for just about everybody, and it's just amazing what he knows. So as I put in my Facebook plant just a few minutes ago, imagine the lighting in his pool. God.
Well,
it must be remarkable.
I'm pretty sure you were pleased to know we'd put LED lights in your pool.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that we understood. Look, I will sit here and tell you I understand lighting, but I don't know nothing about lighting. This guy to my left right here knows more than about lighting because I believe you've written some amazing papers on lighting. We have one of our engineers from one of our manufacturers has read some of the writings that you've done. He wrote a thesis on some of the literature that you put out there.
Well, I mean, most of it's just it's articles I've done and talked about how I run my lighting. And that's both artistic and technical. You know, the combination of the two.
Okay, so if we took Cosmo and you set you in this console and we brought XYZ lighting guy in this console, how totally different would your thoughts about being lighting versus this guy? Is there it's got to be diversity because that's what life's all about is diversity. So if you put two guys, one you and somebody else over here, and he said program a song.
Well, I mean, bands have done that. They've actually had LDs come in and program a song, their way, and I'm not a fan of that. I mean, but you're right. Everybody does it a little different. I mean, there's some things that are going to be the same. Like, like I said, Highway to Hell is going to be red and amber and orange. But as far as, it's the diverse. It is.
Okay, how about this question? You're running, let's say you're on your fourth or fifth venue on a tour, and you're playing the same lighting for every song, which I'm 99% sure that's exactly what happens, is
Yes.
You don't change that. Does somebody critique what you do, like maybe a band manager, for instance, and I don't know how that works, say, you know what, maybe we should change this, or look at addressing lighting in this fashion versus that? Did anybody, or is it you?
Well, I mean, it depends on the band, but it is me. I mean, I'm fortunate that I work with bands that give me free reign. You know, we'll talk about things and they'll come up with ideas, and we'll sit down together and come up with different looks and stuff like that. But for the most part, you know, that's the beauty about lighting. It's an artistic thing.
Okay, here's another question. Do you ever get to see your lighting besides sitting at your console? Do you ever get out to get over and go back to the other side and say, yes?
Well, it's kind of, I mean, it's like being a musician. You can't see yourself perform.
I got it.
You know, so I mean, one thing I do like is I like a theater where I can sit in a high seat and look down on the stage. That's a different perspective for me because I'm usually right stage level and I don't see the lights on the stage.
So obviously, from your perspective, higher is kind of, is it better for you?
It's better for me, yeah.
Because you get to see how everything fires off.
Yes, exactly.
Versus being down. That's kind of like being the musician in the pit, can't see the crowd because the lights are on him.
Right.
Okay, so you're wanting to see the lighting versus, you know how it's going to do it because you programmed it to do that. So, see, I still can't conceive how to do that, and that's okay. That's why we got guys like this over here that make our entertainment especially special because of guys like you. This is not something that you learn overnight. I know it's not. It's something you're going to spend many, many years refining, and obviously, you've only been doing this for how long?
36 years.
Wow.
You know, and I can think that after tonight's program, I think our audience is going to now show up at live performances and see them totally different than they did yesterday. Because now they're going to be looking at the lights and thinking, this concert would not be this good if it was just a band with a white light on a stage singing into microphones.
I think once they realize how much goes into the process of making a show, it makes them think. You're correct.
When you're all done with the show, how much equipment do you carry out of the show?
Well, I just have, we call it the front of house. It's my console and my rack and my work trunk, and that's it.
Pretty simple luggage, right?
Yes.
Not a lot of baggage. Versus the tour has a couple of semi-trucks.
Yeah.
So think about this. It takes semi-trucks to put the music on the stage, but it takes a small console and a computer to make your light happen. How
Correct.
big is that? Look, this show's over. This hour
That's
has
cool,
gone
man.
amazingly quick, and I'm sorry it's over. I could do 2 hours on this, but I want to sit here from TC Water Features, tell everybody out there a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. I will not be here next weekend. I'm not sure what the show's doing for holiday programming, but I'm going to enjoy that next weekend with my family. I'm honored and blessed to have Cosmo Wilson with me. Remember, we build pools, spas, fountains, waterfalls, water features, renovations, service. We do it all. Without doing that as a complete package, we're not here. So we're doing a great job. Merry Christmas, everybody.